Well, bonjour, good morning. I'm Tanya, Minister of Arts, Culture and Status of Women. Bonjour, je m'appelle Tanya et je suis ministre des Arts, de la Culture et de la Condition Féminine. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge that Calgary is on Treaty 7 territory, home to the Blackfoot Confederacy of the Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani, as well as the Tsuut'ina and Stoney Nakoda nations of Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Goodstoney. I also acknowledge the Métis people of Alberta who have a deep connection with this land. Thank you to, je remercie, Heather Innes, Executive Director of the Provincial Archives of Alberta, Heather Innes, Directrice Générale des Archives Provinciales de l'Alberta, Claudette de Roy, President of Société Historique Francophone de l'Alberta, Claudette D. Roy, Présidente de la Société Historique Francophone de l'Alberta. Thank you both. Merci for joining us today. And thank you to La Cité des Rocheuses for hosting us for this announcement. I'm thrilled to share exciting updates about our ongoing efforts to expand and enhance French language services for Albertans. French-speaking Albertans have shaped our province's history and identity for centuries. Their contributions have enriched Alberta's cultural landscape in countless ways throughout our history, and you continue to do so today. For many, learning and accessing services in French is not just about convenience. Pour bien des jeunes, l'apprentissage et l'accès à des services en français n'est pas seulement une question de commodité. It is a reflection of your identity and heritage. C'est une question d'identité et de patrimoine. That's why today I'm pleased to announce that Alberta's government is taking another significant step to ensure essential French language services continue to grow and evolve while preserving Alberta's Francophone heritage for future generations. Alberta's government is investing over $4 million to further strengthen French language services, ensuring that Francophones across the province have access to the support they need in the language of their choice. This funding is an essential part of our ongoing commitment to implement Alberta's French Policy Action Plan. Efforts span various sectors, including supporting Francophone nonprofit organizations, enhancing cultural services, and providing health and justice resources in French. With more than 260,000 Albertans who speak French, it remains the most spoken language in Alberta after English. Il y a plus de 260 000 Albertaines et Albertans qui parlent français, et le français est la langue parlée le plus couramment après l'anglais dans notre province. Exploring our history and culture in the language that feels most natural helps us connect more deeply with our roots and better understand our legacy. This investment makes that experience possible, offering more families, children, and all Albertans the opportunity to discover and connect with Alberta's Francophone heritage. Our government is investing in key initiatives that will continue to support education, research, and cultural projects. For example, the Provincial Archives of Alberta recently translated nearly 200 records, making them publicly accessible, and added bilingual staff to support research on Alberta's Francophone history. The Société Historique Francophone de l'Alberta preserves this heritage, providing tools and resources that help future generations connect with their past and shape their own history. This funding also supports educational initiatives such as French language school and public programs at the Royal Alberta Museum, the RAM, along with educational and audio guides at the Reynolds Museum and the Royal Tyrrell Museum. Alberta's government is making sure all Albertans and visitors can explore the province's history, culture, and science entirely in the language of their choice. Le gouvernement de l'Alberta veille à ce que tous les Albertains et les visiteurs de la province puissent découvrir l'histoire, la culture et la science d'ici dans la langue de leur choix. We are also working hard to continue increasing access and availability of essential government services in French. Alberta's French Policy Action Plan includes more than 100 actions that strengthen French language education, translate key documents and expand interpretation services, enhance bilingual court services, continue French language career and employment services, and much more. And that's just the beginning. We're committed to keeping the momentum going. French language and culture has always been woven into the fabric of Alberta's history, and we want to ensure it remains a vibrant part of our future. This month, we are celebrating Mois de la Francophonie Albertaine, Alberta Francophonie Month. Nous célébrons ce mois-ci le Mois de la Francophonie Albertaine. It's a time to appreciate the invaluable contributions of French-speaking Albertans in our province. By celebrating and supporting Alberta's Francophonie, we're not only recognizing the province's heritage, but also ensuring that every Albertan receives the services and experiences they need to live, work, and raise their families here. If you speak French or are learning the language, I encourage you to explore the programs and services now available to you, especially through alberta.ca. Si vous parlez français ou que vous apprenez cette langue, je vous encourage à prendre connaissance des programmes et des services qui vous sont offerts, particulièrement sur le site alberta.ca. And now, I'm happy to invite Heather Innes, the Executive Director of the Provincial Archives of Alberta, to share a few words with us. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Minister. Good morning. One of our goals at the Provincial Archives of Alberta is to document and preserve the history of the people of this province. We have had a long-standing commitment to the Francophone community. We now preserve the length of 10 football fields of text, film, photographs, audio and video records, and stories that document the Francophone experience in Alberta. As the premier custodian of records for the Francophones in this province, we take pride in our efforts to make these records accessible to Francophone communities and to anyone who wants to learn about Francophone culture, history, French language, and the Francophone experience in the West. Thanks to this action plan funding, our bilingual archivist and archival technician continue to make these records available to Francophones not just in Alberta, but throughout Canada and internationally. Provincial Archives staff provide reference services in French and create French language finding aids so that patrons can seek relevant records, both in person at the archives and online. This year, the archives has digitized and made nearly 100,000 pages of records from the Oblates of Mary Immaculate available, much of which chronicles the lives of Francophones in our province. As the Francophone population in Alberta has grown, so has our commitment to the community through tours and workshops that highlight their heritage and history. Our goal is to promote a deeper understanding of the archives and emphasize the importance of preserving personal and family records. This past year, we have worked with La Société Historique Francophone de l'Alberta, the Comité Franco-Queer de l'Ouest, and also with Quisqueya Institute Kayanu to deliver workshops for the French Afro-Caribbean community. Later this month, we will be hosting a French language tour of the Provincial Archives for Les Rendez-vous de la Francophonie to demonstrate how we acquire, preserve, and make records of the Francophone communities available to everyone in the province. Thank you, and I'd like to invite Claudette Roy.
Madame la ministre, distingués invités, chers membres de la communauté, c'est avec fierté que je prends la parole au nom de la Société historique francophone de l'Alberta pour souligner un investissement essentiel dans la protection et le rayonnement de l'histoire des francophones en Alberta. D'abord, un grand merci à l'honorable Tanya ministre des Arts, de la Culture et de la Condition féminine. Votre engagement témoigne une reconnaissance précieuse de la part francophone à l'histoire et à l'identité de notre province. L'histoire francophone en Alberta est une histoire de résilience et de persistance. Depuis plus de 270 ans, le français a toujours eu sa place ici, enrichi aujourd'hui par les nouveaux arrivants qui dynamisent nos communautés. Cette mémoire collective, portée dans nos familles, nos écoles et nos institutions, doit être protégée, valorisée et partagée. L'investissement annoncé aujourd'hui est un pas important. L'accès aux services en français est essentiel à la vitalité de nos communautés et leur développement repose sur l'engagement d'acteurs communautaires, culturels et éducatifs. Lorsqu'on facilite l'accès à l'histoire en français à travers la conservation des archives, les expositions et les initiatives numériques et scolaires, on permet aux Albertains de se réapproprier leur passé et d'en assurer la transmission. Je pense notamment au travail mené pour documenter l'histoire des Noirs francophones en Alberta. Grâce à un partenariat avec la Société Kayanou et une collaboration étroite avec les archives provinciales de l'Alberta, dont je salue la présence de Heather Innes, nous rassemblons des témoignages et des artefacts qui racontent les parcours, luttes et contributions de ces communautés trop peu documentées. Speaking of history also, les initiatives montrent bien notre histoire, qu'elle est vivante, qu'elle est essentielle et à la diversité de notre province. And here is where I want to insert a small comment in English. Speaking about our rich history, I would be remiss if I did not mention that in a year or so, la CFA will be celebrating its 100th anniversary as an association, and part of that will be, of course, remembering the long past, more than 100 years of Francophone history and contributions in Alberta. So that's something interesting and important that will be coming up soon in the history. Alors, parlant justement de notre histoire vivante et essentielle à la diversité, en réunissant chercheurs, services et communautés, nous donnons une voix à ceux et celles qui ont façonné l'Alberta. Mais ces efforts nécessitent des ressources et un engagement durable. Préserver notre mémoire, ce n'est pas seulement protéger les archives et les documents, c'est affirmer la place des francophones dans le récit collectif de l'Alberta. C'est rappeler que nous avons contribué, que nous contribuons toujours et que notre histoire mérite d'être conservée, connue et célébrée. Nous sommes heureux de voir ces investissements concrets qui soutiennent cette vision. En ce mois de la francophonie albertaine, ce geste rappelle l'importance de célébrer et de renforcer notre héritage commun. Encore une fois, merci, Madame la ministre, et à toutes les personnes qui rendent ces avancées possibles. Ensemble, continuons de faire vivre l'histoire et la culture francophone en Alberta. Merci.
All right, thank you. That brings us to the end of the formal portion of our conference. Now we will move into any media questions and the answer portion. Just a reminder, it will be one question and one follow-up, and I'd just like to ask that media, you identify yourself, your outlet, and let us know whom you're directing your question to. We'll start in the room and then we'll go to the reporters online afterwards, should we have any.
Hi, Laurence with Radio Canada. I'm just going to take 1 second to get up. So this $4 million, I'm understanding, is to implement the Alberta French Policy Action Plan. So can you clarify, is the amount since 2024 to 2028? Because the action plan was announced and started in 2024 and will continue until 2028.
Merci pour votre question. It's for this budget year. So budget 2025, if passed, is maintaining that level of funding. So it's for this budget year. So it's not spread out over several years. It's dedicated to this budget year. And as you mentioned, it's to continue implementing the French Policy Action Plan, the important initiatives and making sure that we're providing those key services in all areas, but particularly areas like health and education and justice in French.
Okay. Not a follow-up, but just to make sure I understand it, it is additional $4 million.
Yes, it's $4.1 million, yes, for this calendar year. So,
perfect.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but notice, there's Francophone school programs. Can you clarify a bit more what that entails, what kind of funding they will be getting and for what? Is it to have more students? Is it actual education funding, or is it specific programs?
So it's across a wide range of different programs and services, and what we can do is we'll make sure we follow up. We can provide you some specifics with some of the specific examples and resources and institutions that where the funding is provided for. We'll get that to you today.
Okay, perfect.
Merci.
I don't know if there's any media.
We'll take the next question.
Okay. Hi, I'm Arzuma with Radio Canada. So to what extent do federal and provincial language policies in Alberta reflect differing priorities regarding immigration, integration, and the preservation of Canada's linguistic duality?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important, as Claudette spoke about. I was actually intrigued when she was speaking because I was like, I understood a lot of what she was saying, but you may be my new French teacher. But with pleasure for me as well. Claudette, if I understood correctly, she was talking about preserving the history of the Francophone is one of resilience and persistence, and the importance of telling that story and preserving that history, not only for the Francophonie that helped build this province, and celebrating and maintaining and recognizing their culture, their history, their heritage, but as you point out, for the new Canadians, we have coming from so many different countries who speak French. In having the honor of having this position, I've been able to attend many different events and to meet the incredible folks that are coming from so many countries that speak French. And Alberta has the third highest French-speaking population after Quebec. I don't think a lot of people know that, and it's expected to grow faster than any other province over the next couple of years. So very important that we continue to provide those, recognize the past, but continue to provide supports and resources for the growing population.
Thank you.
Merci.
And we'll take the next question in the room. No? I'll quickly just see if we have anyone on the lines.
Oh, sorry.
Operator? No? Okay, then yeah, go right ahead.
Je peux vous poser une question, malheureusement, s'il vous plaît. En fait, peut-être pour la communauté francophone, pour qu'ils aient une idée, vous avez parlé de projets de recherche, de recherche pour montrer la résilience de la communauté et tout. Est-ce qu'il y a un projet que vous avez en tête, que vous pourriez mentionner, dont vous êtes particulièrement fier ou enthousiaste, qui est à venir, juste pour qu'on ait un exemple concret?
Bien, nous avons accueilli avec intérêt un projet possible qui va se faire avec le Royal Alberta Museum, qui a lancé un appel d'offres il y a à peu près, 6 semaines, pour des idées d'un projet temporaire pour souligner, je crois que c'est pour souligner l'anniversaire de le 100e anniversaire de la CFA. Évidemment, je ne peux pas m'empêcher de dire, Madame la ministre, peut-être un jour on aura une exposition permanente, mais c'est-à-dire que mais c'est ça. Ça, c'est un des projets. Et on n'a pas tous les résultats de cet appel d'offres-là, mais on entend dire que il y a eu une réponse intéressante de la part des francophones. Alors, reste à voir. Alors ça, c'est quelque chose que nous voyons venir avec intérêt et satisfaction, si on veut.
Je ne peux pas m'empêcher de vous demander, je ne sais pas si vous avez la réponse, mais quand est-ce qu'on va avoir une meilleure idée des appels d'offres qui ont été, en fait, le résultat des appels d'offres?
Bien, nous attendons, je pense qu'ils sont en train d'analyser leurs réponses et essayer d'avoir des premiers jets de à quoi ça peut ressembler, cette affaire-là. Et j'imagine qu'ils vont communiquer avec nous. J'avais bien indiqué que nous serions intéressés de participer, de collaborer avec... il y a de l'expertise dans la communauté pour aider à ça aussi et de l'intérêt. Alors, on verra bien.
Merci.
Alrighty, and if there are no more questions, then that will conclude our announcement today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here in person and anyone watching online as well.